Welcome, it's Denome, and today we're asking the question, is Ethereum a good purchase right now? And could it be even better than Bitcoin in the medium term? Now, in this video, we will look at the technical analysis. We will compare the price of Ethereum with the price of Bitcoin. We will look at fundamentals, and we will even look at some of the developments and future events that might affect the price of Ethereum, because there are some bullish things down the line. Now, to kick things off, let's actually talk about the technical analysis first. And to start that, let's actually go back to 2018 high when the price of Ethereum was $1,400. And when we simply draw a vertical line from there until now, you can see that we had a very beautiful bounce from that key area of support. Obviously, the fundamentals are already much better, as you will witness later down the line in this video, but on a technical level, this is a very beautiful area where I would expect a lot of investors are ready to buy Ethereum once again. The second thing that I want to highlight is when we take a look at the RSI, which is the relative strength index. It shows us when Ethereum might be oversold or overbought. And historically speaking, whenever the RSI goes below the number 30 here, that has been a phenomenal buying opportunity. Because at 2016, 2017, when the RSI was at or below 30, the price of Ethereum was roughly $8. A perfect buying opportunity, obviously. Then in 2018, you can see the RSI also was below 30, and the price of Ethereum was roughly $80, which was 10x from that previous low there. Then when we jump to 2022, you can see the RSI also went below 30, and that's when the price of Ethereum was roughly $800, another 10x price. Now the price hasn't 10x'd, it's only $1,400, and the RSI is very, very close to being below 30. It might not touch 30 at all, or it could go below it. So you may want to wait a couple of weeks, but on a fundamental level, this is a it starts to look very attractive from my perspective. So technical analysis looks to be very solid for Ethereum. Sure, we have this downturn here, this temporary price decrease. But as you can see, we are basically coming out of that, sorry, this one here. So we're basically coming out of there quite soon. Again, we could tag another low here, but in a few weeks, we are probably getting out of this short-term downturn here. Now, before I show you the fundamental analysis and all of the other things, let me talk to you about today's sponsor, which is Phemex. So Phemex is one of the top exchanges on the planet for leverage trading. You can long, you can short, you can use multiple X's of leverage. If you do use Phemex or any other leverage exchange, be careful and start with low leverage. And for that, you can start with a demo account. One of the key features of Phemex is the low fees that it offers. Only 0.01% fees if you are doing market buy or market sell orders with derivatives trading. Also, when you use my referral code or you use the link below, you're eligible for $4,800 in welcome rewards. And the most recent feature that they simply added a week ago is the USDT savings program, where you can earn a 5% yield on your USDT when you're waiting for your next trade or you don't have anything to do with your USDT, and you can unlock and lock it whenever you want. There's no locking time periods. It's a flexible term yield program. Now, if you want to get started with Phemex, simply use the link below or use the code that I showed earlier. Now, let's get back to the fundamental analysis. And for that, let's actually hop over to defilama.com and look at Ethereum. So here is the price of Ethereum. The first fundamental that I want to talk to you about is the total value locked. And this is one of the only metrics that is quite bad for Ethereum. The other ones are quite good. So when we look at the peak of 2021, you can see the total value locked was $129 billion. And right now we're looking at only $50 billion in total value locked in the DeFi ecosystem. So this is not good. Maybe it's not horrible, but it's obviously not good. So this is one of the bad metrics. But when we look at, for example, the amount of transactions on Ethereum, that is already giving us a little bit more hope. So it's not really in an upward trajectory, but at least the amount of transactions on Ethereum is very, very, very consistent. So it's far from a dead chain. Also, when we look at the amount of revenue that the applications make, even though the total value locked is not as high, you can see that the base of the app revenue on Ethereum is basically growing, and it's on a much better basis than we were basically going into the bull market of 2021 or even towards 2022. The base is now much, much, much better. Then this is when things start to really flip bullish, is when we look at the amount of stable coins on Ethereum. So the amount of stable coins on Ethereum basically shows us the potential of this chain, how much of cash basically people want to park on Ethereum blockchain. And that has been rapidly growing in the last few years. Right now, we're looking at the number of $122.8 billion worth of stablecoins on Ethereum. During the last bull market, the number basically peaked here at $101 billion. So even at towards the last peak, when the price of Ethereum did not was much higher than now, the amount of stablecoins was much less. And obviously, towards the bear market, the amount of stablecoins continued to decline. And at the lows here of 2022, the amount of stablecoins was basically $91 billion. So we're still looking at an increase of more than $30 billion in stablecoin value, which is a good thing. Then when we hop over to sentiment.net and we look at the price of Ethereum, there's a couple of indicators that I want you to look at. The first is when we look at the amount of Ethereum holders on chain. And this tells us how many wallets there are that have at least some amounts of Ethereum inside those wallets. And when we go back to 2017, basically to the peak when the price was $1,400, you can see the amount of Ethereum holders was only roughly 10 million wallets. And right now, today, we're looking at 144 million wallets. So it's an increase of roughly 14x. Even though the price is the same, this fundamental is showing us a 14x improvement, which is amazing. And looking at the last bear market, the amount basically has doubled since then. And it doesn't matter if it's a bull market or a bear market, this metric continues to climb and climb and climb and climb and climb. So that is a very good metric to look at. Another thing that I want to show you guys is the total amount of holders who are in profit with Ethereum right now. So when we look at the supply in profit, the current number is only 30.6%. And this is the lowest it has basically been since the COVID crash of 2020, when only 21% of the supply was in profit. And in the last bear market, the number basically, the lowest point was roughly 42%. So right now, not many Ethereum holders are holding a profit, and that usually means or signals a local bottom, because there's not really an incentive to sell Ethereum anymore. Most people are already holding a loss. So usually these are the times when Ethereum basically bottoms out. So from these perspectives, the fundamentals look quite good. Now, when we look at the amount of Ethereum held by different ETF providers, the cumulative net inflow into these ETFs in the United States has been $2.25 billion. And that's a good number. Although most of the people who have bought Ethereum through an ETF are actually holding a loss. So when we look at the white line here, you can see that the white line is currently lower than it was here in 2022, 2024, basically a year and a half ago. 1 year ago roughly. So from there until now, most ETF holders are holding a loss, but they are still bringing more money into the ecosystem. So this is not necessarily a great thing, but when we look at the outflows, which have basically started since Donald Trump took office, you can see the amount of outflows has continued to diminish, and there's not really an incentive to sell Ethereum at these price levels anymore. So I feel like this will turn into a positive quite soon, and the ETF investors will start investing into ETFs again. And the other reason why I do believe that the ETF money is starting to flow back into Ethereum is because there will be a staked Ethereum ETF this year. Unfortunately, they have delayed making the decision on the staked Ethereum ETF until June 1st. So after June 1st, we might see an approval of the first staked Ethereum ETF. And once this is approved, the ETF investors can earn a yield of roughly 3% by holding that Ethereum ETF when the Ethereum inside the ETF is staked. So that is a new tool that the Wall Street has never seen before, which is obviously bullish, and people expect new money to flow into Ethereum once this is approved and it has launched. So this is one of the bullish things coming in for Ethereum. Also, what we will see is a decision to allow in-kind redemptions of ETFs has also been delayed. So I don't know if this is necessarily bullish, but I think it will allow people to avoid paying taxes temporarily if they can basically move Ethereum in and out of the ETFs without having to transfer it to USD in between the transactions. Not really anything more interesting here, but the default when these are supposed to be approved is in October of 2025. So even though there might be another postponement by October of 2025, these should go live because the new chairman Paul Atkins, he's a pro crypto chairman, and that's one of the reasons why he was actually nominated into this role, that he would lead a more crypto friendly SEC. So this is probably more money will flow into Ethereum after this is approved. And it could be a reason why also we have seen an outflow from these ETFs because people are expecting the staked Ethereum ETF to arrive. So they have taken the money out and maybe they will put it back in once the staked Ethereum is online. Then Ethereum continues to develop. So there will be a Pectra upgrade in May of this year, May 7th to be exact. So only a couple of more weeks, and then this Pectra upgrade will go live. Now it is a major update, but it is not as big as some of the previous updates that we have seen on Ethereum, and not a lot of people are talking about it. I don't know all of the technicalities of it, but it should increase user and developer experience. Also, it allows more scaling and more efficient data handling. It should lower the fees that are involved with Ethereum, and flexible staking withdrawals are inside there as well. So overall, a lot of improvements, probably nothing too major, but small incremental improvements in this upgrade here. And there will be more upgrades obviously down the line, but this simply shows us that there's more, the development on Ethereum continues. Then one more thing that cannot be overstated is World Liberty Fi, which will launch on Ethereum. And one of the reasons why I want to talk about it is because the Trump family is behind this project, and they have they had a public token sale, and they were able to get $550 million worth of investments in this public offering. And this project is supposed to launch somewhere between Q2 and Q3 of this year. And they have teased the investors with a potential airdrop. Sorry about that, airdrop. Okay, it was not part of this news, but they will be launching a stablecoin called USD1. And that is supposedly a institution-friendly stablecoin that institutions can use for transactions between institutions and also to earn yield on DeFi as an offering for banks and institutions and different kinds of companies as well. But USD1 will launch, and they will probably do an airdrop for people who have invested in the World Liberty Financial. So once this launches, I will bet that Donald Trump will make a speech about it and he will post it on social media. So when this actually launches, I do believe that people will start coming back into crypto at that point. Also, by that point, I'm sure the regulatory framework on crypto should be clear, and there's probably some tax exemptions and such that Donald Trump will issue because he wants to make money with this. And we could talk about corruption and bribery and all these things, and I'm sure there's something involved with that as well. But Donald Trump will most likely force other people to use World Liberty Financials and to partner up with other companies because he's the president. He can strong arm people into submission and cooperation. So I'm sure he will use his powers to do that. So once this launches on Ethereum, I think it will bring more interest in Ethereum as well, or towards when this launches. But in the short term, I do have to warn you guys that in Q2 we still have a lot of uncertainties. The tariffs are on a 90-day pause, and the Federal Reserve has said that inflation is expected to go up because the tariffs increase prices. They also limit the amount of available goods going afloat in the United States, and if the supply has basically is going down, but the demand stays the same, the prices have to go up as well. So on multiple fronts, the Federal Reserve expects inflation. But I watched Jerome Powell basically talk about this issue, and he said that they are trying their best to not cause a permanent inflation, that the inflation will only be transitory. Let's see how that goes. But this issue here will basically be the biggest when we get the information of April's inflation data at the beginning of May. And that can cause one more crash in prices when we get the inflation data from there. But do understand that these tariffs were implemented in one time, and most likely the inflation will be spiked for that month, and after May the inflation will start to go down. That's basically what I'm expecting. Obviously, the year to year, like if you compare May to the May before and June to the June before, those numbers will still be elevated, but month to month inflation will probably go down. So anyway, that's the uncertainty here. But basically what I'm getting at is Q3, Q4 start to look bullish in my opinion. That's when we might even start to see Federal Reserve rate cuts. At least those are scheduled for Q3 for this year. So if we go back to the charts here and we talk about Ethereum, can it be better than Bitcoin? Well, for that, let's take a look at the price of Ethereum compared to the price of Bitcoin. And this number here, as you can see, it has been very sad for people who have held Ethereum basically since 2022. But now we're looking at a very close proximity towards this basically 2019 low here for Ethereum. And if Ethereum goes below this number, that means that we are now looking at a potential bear market for Ethereum compared to price of Bitcoin. But on a technical perspective, at least we should expect a bounce very soon to the upside from this technical level. And right now, Ethereum compared to the price of Bitcoin is only roughly 10% away from a potential bottom of this chart here. So Bitcoin might still be better in the short term, but in the medium term, Ethereum might outpace uh, Bitcoin. So for these reasons, maybe don't invest immediately into Ethereum, but keep in mind going into May, going into June, that Ethereum might be even a better play than Bitcoin. And that's probably when we might see a alt season as well, when the tariff information, all of these things are in the past, when the quantitative easing starts, when World Liberty Financial is launched, when the Ethereum staked ETFs are launched, I think we might see a altcoin season by then, and Ethereum looks to be one of the winners. Now, one more point or final point I want to give you guys is that a lot of the staked Ethereum is actually running on a platform called Lido Finance. And when we look at the Lido Finance, it's a decentralized protocol and it offers a liquid staked Ethereum. So when we look at the total value locked in the Lido Finance protocol, you can see it is currently $14 billion. And basically all of this is staked Ethereum. And when Ethereum starts to go up, I do expect the price of LDO to go up as well, because LDO or Lido Finance, they make money from the staked Ethereum that is staked through their protocol. So when we look at the price of LDO compared to the price of Ethereum, you can see that the price of LDO is currently at maybe a local low as well. So if you are bullish on Ethereum, then you may consider buying LDO instead of Ethereum to perhaps get a little bit better return than just having Ethereum. So if you think Ethereum might outpace Bitcoin, then you obviously want Ethereum. If you think LDO might outpace Ethereum, then you might consider buying some LDO. Obviously, there's more risk involved because LDO can be hacked. But if that is hacked, obviously the price of Ethereum probably will go down with it. So consider LDO more like it's almost like leveraging the buying of Ethereum in itself. So that's why I'm talking about LDO. Also, when we look at the LDO price, is also pretty much close at the historical lows here. It could go down a little bit more, but overall it looks to be quite in an interesting place. So that's basically it for this video. Again, if you want to help this channel, consider using my affiliate links and also joining the Discord group, which is free, and perhaps even subscribing to the channel. But anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you liked it. I will see you on the next one, and bye bye.